When the Nintendo Switch was announced in October 2016, a lot of us got super hyped about this new console, and the main attraction point was for sure the form factor. We got a short glimpse on the different ways you can use the latest from Nintendo, and having to follow a not so successful Wii U, the Switch just had to succeed at all costs. Nintendo managed to generate a lot of hype around it, so that's why when the release date came on March 3, 2017, people were waiting in lines to buy it. I got my first one soon after, and in today's video I will tell you my personal impression after 6 years of owning a Nintendo Switch. So I'll be honest, even if I love some of Nintendo's first party titles and Super Mario is one of my favorite games of all time, I wasn't that invested in the Nintendo ecosystem. I never owned a Wii or a Wii U, but I did have several Game Boy consoles. So what made me buy a Nintendo Switch at launch? Well, at that point I was mostly a PlayStation gamer, and as much as I loved it, I was just a sucker for handheld gaming. And if you've been following my channel, then you know how much I love playing like this. So I'll admit, having the possibility to use the Nintendo Switch handheld and just stick it in the docking station and continue to play your games on a big screen TV was a selling point for me. I know there will always be a comparison between different consoles, but for me the Switch wasn't about replacing my PS4 at the time, but rather to complement it. I would still play my AAA games on a more powerful console and a nice TV, but the Switch can offer a quick, fun gaming session while sitting on the couch or on an airplane. And even if I was so fond of the idea of docking the Switch and using it on a big screen TV, I think I did this less than 5 times in 6 years. I simply prefer use it in handheld mode. Alright, let's talk about what Nintendo brought with the Switch and how it changed in all these 6 years. At launch, we got this nice and clear interface with cards display for the games, an eShop to buy games digitally, 2 teams at a time, light and dark, a nice and clean menu, no voice chat in-game support, and no possibility of connecting Bluetooth headphones. And since then, it's almost the same. We still got the same 2 teams, the layout is identical, not too many changes were brought to the menu, the voice chat has been added, but you need to use your smartphone, but at least we finally got the possibility of adding Bluetooth headphones. And this just happened just a few months ago. Since launch, Nintendo also added an online subscription. There are different versions for which you can pay for, and I'll add them right here on the screen. You basically get the cloud save for most of the games, possibility of online playing, there are some that will work without it by the way, so it's pretty similar to what others are offering. And then you also get a bundle of all games like the NES, SNES, N64, Sega Mega Drive and others. There is the first bundle for which you need to pay $19.99 per year, and the expansion pack, which adds a couple of other benefits like the Game Boy Advance, N64 and a few others for $39.99. You should know there is also a family pack that brings these prices down per user. Nintendo is continuing adding new games regularly in both packs, so it's up to you to decide which is best for you. Now we need to talk about games. In its 6 years lifespan, the Switch has got some pretty big titles. My favorite has got to be Super Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild for sure, but there are also others that I recently got more into, like Animal Crossing New Horizon. I never fully got into the Animal Crossing games, but I have to admit that it's a very relaxing game and sometimes it's all you need. But Nintendo always had some amazing first party titles, but most of the time it's just not enough. If you have another console like a PlayStation or an Xbox, then you probably will not care about them, but a lot will want to play AAA titles as well. To this day I'm still waiting for a GTA 5 port on this handheld device, and I finally was able to play it on the Steam Deck. But that's just one example. We got some important titles that also came to the Switch like Witcher, Assassin's Creed, FIFA and others. I know some are bad ports and the difference is noticeable compared to other consoles, but at least we got them. Nintendo's priority may be their first party titles, but in my opinion they should not sleep on the third party games. And talking about first party titles, we need to discuss prices. Nintendo is known to almost never put their games on sales, and the prices are not low either. Better yet, they had so many re-releases on the Switch, which they priced it at a full $60. And to move even further, the soon-to-be released Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was recently announced at a price of $70. But Nintendo always knew how to profit, and considering the big success of the Switch and their main titles, they know that people will still buy it. And I'm already one of them, as I already pre-ordered my copy of Zelda. So it's been 6 years since we had the Nintendo Switch, and we heard a lot of rumors about a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro or whatever they decide to name it. But the thing is that it will probably still take some time before this happens. And considering the Switch still sells amazingly, probably Nintendo is not in a rush to move to the next big thing. With more than 120 million units sold and not stopping anytime soon, I'm really curious what the strategy with the next console would be. And on this topic, I'm curious about 3 things. The first one is if it will still be a hybrid console like the Switch. The form factor was a selling point for Nintendo. But remember, they also had the handheld devices, with the 3DS being the latest one. And this month, we'll see the closing of the 3DS eShop, so I'm really curious what their next move is. Will we continue with a 2-in-1 device like the Switch, or will Nintendo go back to 2 different devices? The second thing is the power. The Switch was already using all hardware ever since it was released, and for sure we're seeing this limitation in these years. Will we have a more powerful device, or will Nintendo stick to the more casual gaming market? And the third thing I'm curious about is backwards compatibility. Nintendo has a great history of making backwards compatible consoles, and I will go a lot deeper in this topic in a future video, but what will they do this time? Will they stick to the current cartridge form and make the new console using the same ones? Will they go to a digital-only console and we can still use the current games? Or will it be a completely separate console as the Nintendo Switch was? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Before they actually released a new console, Nintendo did make a couple of Switch iterations with the Switch Lite and the OLED Nintendo Switch. I made a separate video about the OLED one and you can find it over here, but this console was Nintendo's answers to fans' requests for a new device. Internally it's the same console, but the OLED screen and the back kickstand were some pretty big upgrades for most of us. But it's not a Switch Pro and for sure not a Switch 2, and fans are still not satisfied and are still craving for a new Nintendo console. Who knows, maybe 2023 will be the year when Nintendo at least announces their next big thing. We'll just have to wait and see. What's your opinion about the Nintendo Switch? When did you buy yours and are you still using it in 2023? I'd love to hear from you. Before you go, make sure to check this video over here where I talk about getting an OLED Nintendo Switch in 2023, or this one where I give you my 1-year impression on the Steam Deck. And please stick around for more videos like this. That's it for now, this is the Tech Unravel and I'll catch you in the next video.